Well, thank you. And I already put Dr. Needler on notice that if I start coughing, I'm just going to hand my notes to him and he can take over. He's already been the tech guy, so appreciate that very much. And you all are first. I usually, we do this PowerPoint and was supposed to be tomorrow, and they called this morning and said they accidentally scheduled 2 speakers, so I agreed to move to one a little later in October, so you truly are special today. We'll start always the question everybody is interested in, and that's enrollment, and we had predicted this really from March or April that we would be down in enrollment, and we are. About 6%, I think, is the number. The economy has really, through a period of years now, has started to affect us. And I think early on, maybe we kind of bucked the trend. It didn't affect us quite as bad because I think there were a lot of prospective students that thought, well, this is going to be a short-term boom. I'll go ahead and go to school. But now that it's been with us for several years and doesn't seem to be slowing that much, we have lost some of our young men. And you really hate to see that happen when they're juniors or seniors and don't lack a whole lot to finish a degree, but they're still finding it hard to turn down a $50,000 job driving a truck or being a pumper or whatever that happens to, opportunity they have. Plentiful jobs, high wages, a little bit hard to argue, although we do try very hard to cause them to think a little more long term than that. Total enrollment for is 1,444. This happens to be a picture of our freshman class. Our freshman class still held very strong. I think we were down maybe 16 students. I think we'd been 408 the year before, and I think we were 392. So again, not too bad there. And our remaining visit campus is down a little bit more. Dorm occupancy is still riding at above 700, 712 as of the day that this was done. So the housing shortage is still affecting dormitories a great deal, which is fine if you're young. But having a lot of students on campus, I think, is a positive thing. I think renovations, trying to get those dorms as the best that they can be for the students. We did quite a bit in augment. Transfer students coming in for the first time in the fall, and our concurrent enrollment of high school juniors and seniors increased by nearly 10%, so we were pleased in that. We got a USDA grant, or we received a USDA grant a couple of years ago that allowed us to build a concurrent enrollment studio that is to be used just for concurrent enrollment, and then some that USDA grant also provided some equipment for some of the area high schools, so that's probably part of the reason for that. Practical purposes to be doing very well. One thing we're really excited about, I think last year I mentioned to you that we would be going through our 2004. Again, in 2014, the team came in April of the spring semester, gave us really positive feedback, but the team has to make a recommendation to the commission. And finally, in July, we were notified that the team's recommendation was accepted with the full 10 years accreditation. You can get on the different standards, not met, met with concern, or just met. And we met everyone, no concerns, no focus visits required, no follow-up reports. So we were very pleased, and some people sitting in this room were very involved. Of course, all of our faculty. I think Dr. Meharry was a Criterion co-chair or chair. Dr. Needler was had the red pencil out as one of our chief editors on the self-study. So this was another thing that caught us a little off guard, but we were pleased in the spring that our nursing program was ranked among the nation, not the state, but the nation's top 20 programs by collegeatlas.org, which is a rating service. They use several criteria: outstanding pass rate on state licensure, academic quality, affordability, accessibility. And we were the only Oklahoma school that was in the top 20. And they were, if you look at the list, by far the majority were large schools like Research One universities. In fact, we were right behind the University of Kansas. I believe they were number 17, we were 18. So very, very proud of that. Rick and I host a lot of student groups at the house, and we always, they give their names and their majors, and often the nursing majors will say, I was looking for a really good nursing program, and when you put pass rates on licensure exam on the internet, Northwestern comes up. I have two young people in my President's Leadership class, one from Broken Arrow and one from Moore, who found out about Northwestern through this type of publicity. So I think that's a very positive thing. Other national recognitions that are used by U.S. News and World Report. Number one in affordability for on-campus living, and a top 10 pick for tuition costs among public institutions. So that those are both things that we use in our information with the affordability rate. If you haven't heard our previous research, you are really missing something. You have the opportunity, and then we have concerts this semester, I'm sure, and certainly in the spring also. But this is our most select choral group under the direction of Dr. Eileen Menezes-Loris. And if you remember, not last year, but the year before, they went to China and did a tour there. They have been selected to compete at the National Association for Music Education Conference in Nashville this October. So they will be heading to Nashville. They choose 10 groups, is what I've been told. And it's not just 10 vocal groups, 10, whether it be a jazz choir or an instrumental group or a jazz band or a brass ensemble, whatever. I mean, it's very, very select. So we are so pleased for them to be able to do that. They also will be performing in Carnegie Hall in New York City in the spring semester. So they'll be doing a little traveling. And how many of you saw them on Is This a Great State or What? Did anybody get the opportunity? Right. That was just a really nice piece. I didn't see it the night it aired, but I got to see the YouTube version, and it's available to see if you missed it that night. So good things happening. on our NCAA process. We're moved to the provisional year, which hopefully is the third and final step of that process. And our goal right now is September of 2015, next September, to be in full active status on membership. We will have the third and final year is the focus is on compliance, so they will have, NCAA will be sending a group, I believe in November, that will come and test all of our compliance rules and policies and regulations. We will submit our annual report, and then in probably July of 2015, we'll be told whether we get to move out of candidacy and provisional into active membership. This is something that we just announced Thursday when our regents were here. We are, of course, are building the press box at the site of the stadium. I've had a few people ask, well, why didn't you wait till after the season? We kept finding that the cost was continuing to rise. We talked to the high school, who they also play at the site, and we just decided to go ahead. We knew it would be a little difficult to run the games, but we've been through 3 now, and they seem to go off just fine. When we were thinking of a naming opportunity for that field, Dean Linder seemed to be the logical choice, and as a member of Share Trust, who made the leadership gift on the facility, they were in favor of that also, and so it will be called the Dean Linder Press Box. Right now, if you drive out by there, we have a really nice flat slab of concrete and an elevator shaft. The steel has been back ordered, and we have been told that it should arrive next Monday, the 29th of September. So cross your fingers and hope that that's the case. We're hoping to have that finished by the end of the year, and then we would probably do a dedication in February in conjunction with our Sports Hall of Fame. The second step then is after the season to replace the grass field with turf. And you can see what that has, the artist's rendering of what that will look like. That will give certainly the high school and our college teams one of the best really facilities in this part of the state to play on. So we would hope by the 2015 season to have that in place. I think that will, another thing we've looked at is that would allow us to bid for some high school playoff games, which will bring, again, more people to this community. I think last year, Laverne and Cherokee played their playoff game in Weatherford, and why would they want to go to Weatherford when they could go here? So we'll keep that in mind. Private giving we've been doing very well in that. The total funds raised in fiscal year 14 that just ended, a little over $4 million. The endowed part of that, over $1 million, almost $1.2 million. And the foundation, the investment committee, has done very well in investing and had a 13% return, which is as good as Harvard and Yale and so on. So can't think of all the members right now, but I know Mike Rao, who is retired now, but I think worked for Kerr McGee and in the accounting field, is the head of that committee and has done just an excellent job. Homecoming will be here before we know it, the 16th, 17th, and 18th. The theme, I'm always intrigued by the themes that come forward, but the Ranger Games, and I guess this is a takeoff on the Hunger Games, if you're familiar with that book and movie, Catching Fire. So Miss Cinderella pageant, we have 22 girls slated to be in the Cinderella pageant. I welcomed them on Sunday to an orientation. We have some towns that we haven't had for a while. Ponca City is sending a girl. Watauga is sending a young lady, so we were pleased to see that. Our parade, some people probably will have to leave the parade early to go watch the Ranger volleyball game at 11, and then Ranger football at 3 p.m. Our teams are really starting to perform pretty well. One day, or over a 2-day period, volleyball played 3 games and won all 3 of them. And at that particular point in the semester, they had won more games in September than we had won with all our sports the year before that. So if you've been watching soccer, I think they're 4-1-1. Of course, football got a win over a GAC conference school on Saturday, and volleyball has continued to do very well. I think soccer plays tomorrow at 4. Dr. Lindstrom will know because she does. I go to a lot, but she never misses. Soccer, volleyball, any of them, she's always there.
And today we had Katie O'Toole is Defensive Player of the Week for GA for the conference, and the Days, I think is how she says her name. Number 10, I guess.
Right.
She's
Offensive Player of the Week for the conference. Yes, I had sent notes to both of those young ladies. And just one more thing that we're doing in conjunction with homecoming this year is our newsroom, where all of our journalism and our newspaper, Northwestern News, is created. Will become known as the Wayne L. Lane Northwestern Newsroom, and so we're excited about that. Mr. Lane spent many years, and we think his family is very pleased that we're doing this. This will be a nice recognition for him, and so we'll have a ceremony during homecoming week for that also. Any questions? I made it without coughing too much. Yes, Henry.
How do you calculate enrollment based on the number of bodies, or is it based upon some sort of full-time equivalent hours?
Both.
Okay.
We do a head count, which really is more of a Chamber of Commerce type of figure. What I'm and my financial officer is more interested in would be the FTE credit hour production. But yeah, we look at it, and we have to look at our enrollment, especially head count. We do duplicated head count with Alva, Enid, Woodward, our distance side, our online, because we have students that fall maybe in 2 or 3 of those categories. But then what we report to the regents would be an unduplicated head count, how many bodies, and that was 2171.
Well, so I'm just curious how you count, like the high school students doing concurrent enrollment. Are they counted as one, or if you have 4 of them taking 4-hour classes?
They are counted. They are counted in the head count, and in fact, that's a separate statistics that we report to the regents. But their 3 hours would be 1/5 of an FTE, because an FTE for an undergrad would be 15 hours. So it's, it depends on what question we're being asked, how it's reported. And our FTE probably is somewhere in the 1900 total. So, other questions?
Can I ask you, what is the enrollment separately if we call that Woodward Needs and now?
The Woodward and Enid are both probably in the 260. They kind of trade places. I don't know that Woodward has ever passed Enid yet, but it seems like to me when I looked at those numbers last, Enid was about 270, Woodward was about 265, so they're very close to each other. Now, their students are much more part-time students instead of full-time because they're usually working adults that are coming back and finishing up a degree. A little less so at the Woodward campus. Sometimes there are some freshmen there. Larry.
Who's in charge of recruitment of the foreign students? Seems like you're doing a really good job.
We have a new young lady that started in February. Megan Stratton is her name. And then Caleb Mossberg is the one who's in charge of her. That would be under the student affairs chain of command. And yes, we did have a pretty good spike in international students this semester. Now, the charge I've given to both Caleb and to Megan, and we're actually developing a task force, is to make sure that we retain as many of those students as we possibly can by doing things like we're going to put our futsal courts back in operation so they can play futsal, which is kind of a form of soccer. I've noticed many of them have been out at the soccer fields at the rec park after the youngsters are done playing with them. We're generating a lot of trips to Walmart because most of them do not have vehicles. And although I see them walking out and about quite a bit, and we're developing like a separate student orientation for them to, an extra, not a separate, but an extra orientation about things like academic honesty and just some things that there are some cultural differences, and just to make sure that they have as good an experience as possible. Lynn.
I saw something on this about developing courses in Ponca City. Since I'm family there, I'm curious about what that is.
There is what they have in Ponca City is called a university center, and I believe they took, well, it used to be at the old Conoco facility, but probably, oh goodness, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago, they took over an old grocery store in one of their shopping centers and received money from the state regents to develop that. And we've been a course deliverer there for quite some time. I can't tell you right off the top of my head what the number of students are there, but we count that in our distant site. But we don't provide any lower division courses, but we do provide some psychology, education, business courses. And somebody who's been very instrumental in that Ponca City Center is Carl Renfro, a former state regent, and Ike Glass, who is a current state regent. One of our graduates, Adam Leeming, is actually the director of the site, so he works very well with us.
Does that count in your enrollment?
That counts in total. I mean, if we had an unduplicated head count, yes, that would count.
Do any of the universities, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, and we'll come back to Larry.
Universities have any similar things like that in Ponca City?
Yes, Northern provides almost all of the lower division. They have, I believe they get some courses from Cali County in Kansas. I believe OU and OSU provides a course here and there, but I don't know how many other ones. Those are the ones I've heard about. And we actually have an on-site nursing faculty there. Ponca City came to us and said, we are desperate for nurses. What would it take to be able to have part of your nursing program for us to have Ponca City students? And what we told them is you will have to provide us the funds for a faculty member, and they did. And so we have an on-site nursing faculty member that's at that Ponca City site that they are paying for, basically. So
I have one. The students that come from Africa, and as you know, the serious outbreak, will the government quarantine any student that comes in?
We've been keeping a pretty close eye on that. we do have some African students, not a lot. Probably the majority of our international students are from Nepal. We have a pretty good-sized Nepal contingency, but we are in close contact with CVIS, who handles international students in general. And, several schools, I was talking to the president of Southwestern at the board meeting last week. They've had a pretty good spike in international enrollment. He told me they have like 40 Saudi Arabian students. And so, it's just interesting how little cohorts develop. But yes, we will be watching that. And none of them would be from those three. I think it's Sierra Leone, Liberia, can't remember the third one that has the high Ebola risk. Other questions?
The Nashville thing is an honor
Yes,
deal to be invited to.
very much so.
And they're
Dr.
having-
Needler probably knows
they're
more
gonna
about it.
Come up with some funding, that's right. Is that-
I think the Nashville trip is being handled. I think it's the New York City trip that they're trying to raise funds for. I'll check that to verify that.
Because I knew they were raising it for New York. Because
Yeah.
That was.
I think the only
This was
thing
kind of
they've been
last
asked,
minute.
yeah, it was a last minute thing. I think the only thing they've been asked to raise for the Nashville trip is maybe extra bus drivers. Is they're taking our big 50 passenger bus, and probably we'll have to have 2 drivers. We use Red Carpet Country bus drivers, and they will have to have 2 probably because of, I don't know, how many hours is that? 16 hours. And it's a pretty quick trip. It's like a there and back. Very, very much of an honor, though.
Yeah, it's an overnight bus trip and then one night there and an overnight bus trip back.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to do that. I'm sorry, Mike.